7.3, Day 1, Equations with Fractions. Our objective is to solve two-step equations that have fractions, and tomorrow we'll work with decimals. Remember, when the coefficient, that's the number in front of the variable, in an equation is a fraction, you can use the reciprocal to solve the equation. Just as a reminder, the reciprocal is what happens when you flip a fraction over. So if you have 2/3, it would be 3 over 2. If you have this whole number 5, you put a 1 underneath it, flip it over, and you have 1/5. So those are reciprocals. When you have a two-step equation, gather the variables on one side of the equation and the constants on the other before multiplying by the reciprocal. This isn't the only way to solve it, but for most of the time it is a pretty good way to go about solving an equation. So let's get into it and let's take a look at number 1. We have 5 over 6x minus 4 equals 11. There's no step 1, there's no step 2, no step 3. So we're going to go to step 4, and they're subtracting 4, so we're going to do the opposite and add 4 to both sides. Remember, we do both sides to keep our equation balanced. A minus 4 and a plus 4 zero out, and that'll give us 5 over 6x equals 15. Now, what are they doing to the variable? They're multiplying by 5 over 6. So we need to do the opposite, which is dividing by 5 over 6. But as I've shown you in previous lessons, when you're dividing by a fraction, you flip it over and multiply. So we'll multiply both sides by 6 over 5. If we multiply those straight across, 6 times 5 is 30, over 5 times 6, which is also 30, which gives us 1. Another way of going about that is we could cross simplify, which means we're going to cross out the 6's and cross out the 5's, and that gives us our big fat 1. Now we can put 15 over 1 so that we can multiply there, and that will give us 90 over 5. 15 times 6 is 90, 1 times 5 is 5. If I simplify that, or do 90 divided by 5, we get x is equal to 18. Number 2, 2/3 y minus 6 equals 2. Would you pause the video and try to solve this on your own? Or if you can't do all of it, try to do at least a step or two on your own and then come back to the video for some help and pause again once you have what you need. Okay, hopefully you got some of that done. There's no step 1, 2, or 3, so we'll go to step 4. They're subtracting 6, so we're going to add 6 to both sides. Our minus 6 and plus 6 will zero out, and we'll have 2/3 y on the left, and 2 plus 6 is 8. They're multiplying by 2/3, so we need to divide by 2/3, which means we're going to multiply by 3 over 2, the reciprocal. So both sides get multiplied by 3 over 2, and I'm going to cross simplify here, and that'll give me 1, and so I'll have 8 over 1 over here, and 8 times 3 is 24, 1 times 2 is 2, and if I do 24 divided by 2, I get y is equal to 12. Step number 3. Would you try this problem? Do as much of it as you can, and if you get stuck, you can watch the video and figure out what the next steps would be, pause it again, and try to finish it up. So there's two places that people tend to make mistakes on this type of problem. The first mistake is at the very beginning, where they want to add 10 to both sides because of the minus sign. But don't look at that minus sign, look at what's in front of the 10, which is nothing right now. So it's a positive 10. We need to get rid of a positive 10, which means we should subtract 10 from both sides. The positive 10 and the minus 10 cancel each other out and leave negative 3/4 x equals 18. So they're multiplying by negative 3/4. We're going to multiply by a negative 4/3, taking the reciprocal. These will cross cancel and leave us a big fat 1. 18 times 4 is 72 over 3. So 72 divided by 3 is 24. But that's a negative 4/3, so signs are different, so we end up with negative for an answer. Number 4. Would you try this problem, please? And pause the video while you solve it. Okay. First thing I would do would be to add 8 to both sides, because that's a minus 8, and to get rid of that, I need to add 8. Just like the other problems, this will zero out, and we'll have 3/5 g is equal to 2 over 10, which gives us, and negative 2 plus 8 is 6, multiplied by the reciprocal, those cancel out. 6 times 5 is 30 over 3. 30 divided by 3 is 10, and that's our answer for number 4. Number 5. This one's a little tricky, so I'm going to get you started, and then I'd like you to try to finish up on your own. We have 2 options. We could use distributive property and multiply everything inside the parentheses by 2/3, but I'm going to do kind of a shortcut here. And since they're multiplying by 2/3, I'm going to divide by 2/3, which means I'm going to multiply by 3 over 2. So I'm going to go 3 over 2 times 14 equals 3 over 2 times 2/3. 3 times 14 is 42 over 2. You can cross cancel here, or cross simplify, and that leaves me with 9y equal minus 15. 42 over 2 works out to 21. We'll add 15 to both sides, doing step 4. (21 plus 15 is 36. Bring down the 9y. Divide both sides by 9. We'll get our big fat 1, and we'll get y is equal to 4. You're going to do worksheet 7.3, day 1. Do side 1 only.